to get the information from the right source. So I made that volunteer to make sure that the information from NCDC goes round to the right people. Because if you go, the information is awash on the internet, where people fabricate their information about coronavirus and all sorts of things. You see on the very, very despicable things. So now, NCDC has to step up its ante by trying to, improve on its methods of dissemination of information. Otherwise, there will be a continuous and systematic disinformation and misinformation in this very era of coronavirus, which we are not yet to see the solution in sight.
Okay, misinformation about COVID-19 is a huge threat facing Nigeria right now. What do you think could be one of other negative effects of misinformation on the people?
Good. Let me start from one end and end it somewhere else. Before I get to the Nigerian end, we remember there was this cure touted by Madagascar as a cure for coronavirus. Then this misinformation continued on the rise because people now went on the internet and said because they rejected the solution, which is the COVID organics of Madagascar, that Madagascar has pulled out from World Health Organization. That is, of course, a wrong information. It's misinformation. In fact, it's a systematic disinformation. So now, considering the fact that Nigeria also is producing some probable cures, which are still undergoing clinical trials, people are aware that these trials will take some time before they will eventually be ratified for effective cure. Because right now, there's no effective cure for coronavirus. All cures are probable. And we are aware that if these cures don't, or these treatment procedures don't go through clinical trials, they cannot be ratified. So Nigeria on its own is standing on eggshells on this issue. So we need to actually put things in perspective in order to make sure that things are done properly.
Okay, Prof, let's look at it. Some of these false informations on social medias have actually ended up on legitimate news websites, trusted websites. Is it proper for such accredited websites, to fall back on unverified news on social media to source information? Absolutely not. The point here is very clear because the information dissemination is like a virus itself. It's amorphous in nature. It doesn't know any bounds. Okay. So it moves both directly and indirectly to the people. So without a recourse to right channel of information, the accredited news channel can as well become victim of false information. Okay, don't you think the federal government should introduce some legislation to make it an offense for anybody to spread misinformation on the social media as a way of curbing this misinformation? Yes, that would be very difficult to do because the World Wide Web is infinite. So it's difficult to police the World Wide Web. And there's a thin line of difference or a nuance between the Freedom of Information Act and as well the freedom of speech. And then copying this will eventually may likely infringe on people's freedom of speech. Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much, Professor Jehuye Kwerenaji, for coming on board Panorama today. Thank you for your input. We appreciate it. Thank you. And this is where we wrap it up on the discussions today. And just before we go, the Enugu State House of Assembly has organized a public hearing on a bill for a law to make provision for urban and regional planning in the state. Chika Ugu reports that stakeholders at the hearing pointed out some inconsistencies in the proposed bill for further review before the passage.
The public hearing by the Joint Committee on Lands and Investment, Capital Territory and Judiciary, Public Petitions, Ethics and Privileges on a bill to make provision for urban and regional planning in Enugu State had in attendance stakeholders in the building sector, traditional rulers and erudite scholars. The Speaker of the House urged participants to ensure a peaceful deliberation with a purpose of fostering development in the state.
We must involve the people that own the bill. This bill belongs to you people. It's not the deal of Enugu State.
The chairman of the occasion, Ibenaku Ono, noted that if the law is enacted, it will ensure restoration of the master plan of the state. In their addresses, Dr. Donald Okeke and Barrister Cromwell Chibuzo emphasized the need for planning laws in every state as it provides the administrative framework for planning and development. Stakeholders at the event commended the legislators and pointed out some irregularities in the proposed bill that requires attention to avoid conflict and mitigation when the bill is finally passed.
The deterrent of demolition should be two-way process, whereby it is a mark of punishment on the person that has illegally developed the structure, and on the other hand, the person that approved
The Deputy Speaker, Uche Ugu, thanked participants for their immeasurable contributions and promised that the House will deliver an acceptable document to the benefit of residents of the state. In Enugu, Chika Ugu, NTA.
This is where we wrap it up on Panorama on the network service of the NTA today. Do have a safe weekend.